Senator, last January, you pledged to support a filibuster of a warrantless surveillance bill that could include retroactive immunity for telecommunications. Last week, the House passed a bill that effectively gives the telecoms that immunity. You said you would support it, and explaining the change, you said it was you were talking. It was in light of the security threats facing the country. Can you explain how the security threats facing the country are any different today than they were in January when you said you would support a filibuster?
Well, the bill has changed. So I don't think the security threats have changed. I think the security threats are similar. My view on FISA has always been that the issue of the phone companies per se is not one that overrides the security interests of the American people. I do want accountability and making sure that, as I've said before, somebody's watching the watchers. That you don't have an administration that feels that it can make its own determinations about when warrantless wiretaps are applicable without going through a FISA court. And that's what we had. That's the system that we had previously. And I think that if you look at why people were concerned about the original bill, it wasn't simply that we wouldn't be able to sue the phone companies. I would be happy with a system that discloses what's happened and makes sure that we prevent violations of the American people's privacy, even if the phone companies are held harmless. The issue was, can we get to the bottom of what's been taking place, and most importantly, do we have safeguards going in place going into the future so that American civil liberties are not being violated. It is a close call for me, but I think that the current legislation, with the exclusivity provision that says a president, whether it's George Bush or myself or John McCain, can't make up rationales for getting around the FISA court, can't suggest that somehow there is some law that stands above the laws passed by Congress in engaging in warrantless wiretaps. The fact that that provision is in there, I think, is very important and provides us protection going forward. The fact that there's an inspector general in place to investigate what happened previously gives us insight into what has happened or retrospectively. And so, that, in my mind, met my basic concerns. And given that all the information I've received is that the underlying program itself actually is important and useful to American security as long as it has these constraints on them, I felt it was more important for me to go ahead and support this compromise.
Let me ask you, what were your thoughts about Ralph Nader's comments that you are trying to talk white and appeal to white guilt so that you don't seem like a Jesse Jackson and you're not confronting real problems in the African American community? He was pretty brutal.
Look, first of all, what's clear is Ralph Nader hadn't been paying attention to my speeches. Because all the issues that he talked about, whether it's predatory lending or the housing foreclosure crisis or what have you, are issues that the traveling press can tell you I've devoted multiple speeches, town hall meetings to throughout this campaign. Ralph Nader's trying to get attention. He's become a perennial political candidate. I think it's a shame, because if you look at his legacy in terms of consumer protections, it's an extraordinary one. But at this point, he's somebody who's trying to get attention and whose campaign hasn't gotten any traction. And a better way to get some traction than to make an inflammatory statement like the one that he made. It is what it is.